Tonight's theme is the difference between demonic possession and psychological disturbances. They're not the same thing. And I want to give you some examples of demonic possession. I've only witnessed one in my lifetime, and I've probably told you about that already, but I'll refer to it again. Is that with demonic possession, this is control of the body, is of the physical movements of the body. It does not affect the brain, it does not affect the soul. The spirit of a person who is possessed can reason and talk and behave quite normally, but they cannot control their body. And this example of this, they're powerless to control their bodily functions. An example of this, a really bizarre example, which St. Paisius talks about, is there was a monk on the Holy Mountain who, when he said the Jesus Prayer, he began to shake. And I'm not talking about trembling, I mean shaking. He shook to such a degree that anybody near him was infected by it. And you can imagine trying to live in a community every time we pray. And he'd been saying the Jesus Prayer all his life, 40 or 50 years, so he couldn't not say it. I mean, it's a habit, which is a good habit. But the moment he started saying the Jesus Prayer, which I've been recommending to you, is that he began to shake and tremble, and not only shake, but shake people around him, anybody who was in the vicinity. And it got to such a state that he was shaking the building. Now, I'm not talking about a great suburb or big cathedral, I'm talking about a small chapel in a skeet or something like that. At the table, a trapeza, he just caused such a disturbance because he would try not to say the prayer and then he'd forget and start saying the prayer, and everything on the table began to shake. And people eventually, they're really sort of rather fed up with him actually, and they're saying, please go and consult somebody. Well, there was an elder, a famous elder, St. Savas, turn of the 20th century, 1908, I think is when he reposed. But anyway, around that period of time, this monk went to see this elder who was experienced. Now, he was experienced in the way that he knew when to interfere or when to help, which means that was a gift that he had. He could understand the situation. And so he said to the monk, he said, well, how do you pray? He said, well, I say the Jesus Prayer, but every time I say the Jesus Prayer, this shaking starts and it affects everything around me, objects, everything. And he said, well, tell me when did it first start? And he thought for a moment. He said, well, I was praying one night in my cell, he said, and the devil appeared to me, or a devil, and challenged me, and I challenged the devil and said, you can't do anything to me because I have the power of prayer. He said, that's it. You cannot, take note please, you cannot confront the demons. In a situation like that, you ask for God's help, or the Mother of God. You don't say, I would, command you to whatever, to go away. You can't do that. Unless you have a special gift for that from God, which is very special. I add here that exorcism should not be carried out by anybody. This is a mistaken view amongst priests today that you can just read prayers of exorcism. It's very, very dangerous, and one should not do it unless one has a special blessing from the bishop. And certain people can't do it because of their personality or makeup. There's only very few people that can actually do that. Well, so the elder said to him, well, the thing is that you have to confess that this is pride that's causing it, and you need to reduce the number of prayers you say, because you see, extremism is followed by the spirit of delusion. So being overzealous in your prayer life or attendance of church, anything to do with church, overzealous can lead to delusion. Well, the monk confessed, and by the grace of God and through the prayers of this elder, the shaking ceased. He said, by the way, what else do you do in a cell for your prayer? He said, well, I make prostrations. He said, well, I know that. We all do that. How many? 3,000 a day. He said, well, from now on, from today, you will do 50. And that night, he couldn't do 5. Couldn't do it. So there was an extreme. He was riding on pride and the energy that goes with it. And of course, it was demonic. This is an example of physical possession. The other examples we have in the Gospel, of course, the Gadarene, the man in the tombs, or the men in the tombs in which they had such strength that they could break chains. This is in the Gospel, but it also happens. Apparently in some of the exorcism in Russia, people have to be tied, and they can break their bonds because they have superhuman strength. That applies to men and women, not just men. So this is a physical possession. They are in control of their minds, of their soul, but they're not in control of their body. So they have great strength. Another attribute or characteristic of demon possession, apart from physical movements, which are jerky movements, physical, there's also this clairvoyance. This is also a sign of demon possession. We have shamanism, which you probably know about. It's here in North America, certainly in Russia, in northern Russia and Siberia, and shamanism. And it is a very real thing, and these shamans are actually demon possessed. I have a story, which is a very strange story, about a father, Archimandrite Nikolai, who, when he was at college, at university, secular life, he had a friend, and then they sort of separated because they were in different directions. He went into teaching. He was eventually tonsured a monk. Then he became an archimandrite, priest obviously, and he suddenly got a letter from this friend that he hadn't talked to for 20 years, since college. And he said, "Well, come out and see me. I'm living now, some outpost in Siberia, and we could spend some time together." And he thought, yes, I'll do that actually. So he packed his priestly kit, as it were. It says that is epitrachelium, holy water, and a whole sort of things in his bag, and off he goes and takes a train to, I don't know where it was exactly, Chita. I'm making it up. Middle of Tanya. That's where Tanya comes from. No, it's somewhere very remote, and he got to off the train. He had to take what do you call it? A sledge, horse driven, and there was his friend to meet him, and his friend was shocked when he saw that he was a priest. Really taken aback by that, and so he said, "Oh, well, we'll go to my I have a dacha out in the woods," and so they get into this sledge, and off they go. It's obviously snow, and when they get to the house, he finds that his luggage, which was beside him in the sledge, is now in the house. And he thought, well, this is very strange, And in the house, it's very strange. This man actually is a hunter, so there are a lot of trophies, a lot of I don't know. So he says sort of strange decor, how they called it. It wasn't, healthy, but anyway, he decided to spend a few days with him. Anyway, in the evening, he heard him talking. And he wasn't aware there was anybody else in the house, and then so the door was slightly opened, and he couldn't help but have a look through. And there was his friend and this woman, a beautiful young woman playing some sort of musical instrument and singing and talking to him. Well, he went to his room to sleep because he was tired. In the morning at breakfast, and he said, "Who was the lady with you?" And he said, "Oh, did you see her?" He said, "Oh, yes, she comes quite often. She's one of the spirits from the wood."
Out comes the priest again.
Yes. Well, the end of the story is that he couldn't stay there. I mean, it's so demonic. It was unbelievable. So he left. But later on, he was actually murdered in Kiev, in the Pechersky Lavra, in the monastery. He was murdered, and they found him with a satanic dagger stuck through his heart. So it was something to do with the occult. We don't know the details of that. This is an example of clairvoyance, is that this man could tell the future. It doesn't actually work, it's not quite true. It appears to be fortune telling or telling the future, but it isn't, in fact. Now, demonic influence is not possession, but it is far worse. Demonic influence is power over our reason and will. So the demons control the way we think and the way we act and our desires. That's far more serious than physical. It is said that God allows physical possession as a means to salvation. We know of Motovilov, who was a disciple of St. Seraphim, had a demon for 30 years. We don't know the details. We only know that he had it, and St. Seraphim prayed for him, but he had that demon. We don't know what form it took and why he had it. There's somebody here who knows about that. I've never been able to find out why Motovilov, of all people, was possessed. Physical possession.
If I remember correctly, I think the story was that he was sitting at the dinner table, and he was thinking how the devil can possess someone who goes to communion and confession on a regular basis.
Church, right.
And the moment he thought so, he just felt something taking over him. I think that's if I remember correctly, that's what was.
Yeah, I don't remember that. No, that is curious.
Mrs. Seraphim told him he would have it for 32 years.
32 years.
Yeah, wasn't it after the death of?
It was after the death.
After
of
the
Seraphim.
death, right? And
He suddenly realised it had gone.
Yeah.
The predictions true.
But we don't know what that is about.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're entering into an area which we do not know anything about, only what we read or what we may have experienced, some of us maybe. So it's not very obvious, is what I'm saying. You cannot sort of say, well, this is that, therefore that, cause and effect. It varies in so many ways. So what are the symptoms of possession? Okay, this is where you can test whether somebody's actually possessed, as opposed to mentally unstable. One of the things is an aversion to holy things. A person who's possessed cannot abide anything that is holy. Holy water, crosses, incense, Bible. They will avoid it. And St. Paisius was saying that a child was brought to him, a little boy. The parents were concerned that he was possessed. And so what he did, he took a relic of St. Arsenius of Cappadocia, that's his spiritual father, and held it in his hand. He had both hands like that. And the child was terrified of his right hand, backing off all the time. Another one, he put out some drinks of water, glasses of water, and he put holy water in one. And the possessed person would not go near the water that was holy water. They looked the same, but so then another experiment, it was in the sense of an experiment, he put some holy water into ordinary water. And this was for a child, another different child, and he was feeding the child sweets to make the child thirsty. So he wanted to drink. He said, well, here's some water for you. And he drank it, and he said, he started screaming. He said, this is burning my stomach. What have you put in there? And the same applied to dipping a relic into water. Would burn anybody that's possessed. Another symptom is change of voice. Now I witnessed this in Montenegro at Ostrov, the monastery. But this woman, I could hear this bellowing sound like a cow. I mean, I'm used to animal having on farm in New Zealand, so I thought, it sounds like one of our bullocks, letting off steam. It was actually a woman with the voice of a bull, big. roaring, and she was on her knees, and the priests were praying exorcism prayers, and it was scary, frightening. I said the Jesus prayer, and I just stood in the corner and waited. At the end of it, they pointed to me and made her come to me for a blessing. I didn't know whether she was going to throttle me or what, but she was calm. I don't know who she was or anything about it afterwards. I don't want to know actually, but that was my only experience. Change of voice, because the demons cannot affect your voice, but they can affect the vocal cords, which are physical. And so people speak with strange voices when they are possessed. Again, come back to clairvoyance. Now, this is interesting because here I have a story again from the Holy Mountain. There was a Romanian deacon who was a very pious and good monk, exemplary monk. And he went to his elder one day. He said, "Oh, could you pray for my mother? She's just died 3 days ago." And he thought, well, how do you know that? No, first he didn't say it. 3 days ago. Well, this is on the Holy Mountain. There's no smartphones. There's no communication. This is in the 1920s. And he said, well, how do you know this then? He said, my guardian angel told me. Oh, he said, well, has your very astute elder said, and your guardian angel, does your guardian angel tell you other things? Oh yes, he tells me all sorts of things. And how long have you, and he said, well, he appeared to me once when I was praying, and he told me that he would pray with me, and we actually have theological discussions. And he tells me about heaven and the future and where I'm going to go, and, I'm already saved, I'm on my way. And he said, how long has this been going on for? He said, 2 years.
That's influence, not possession.
That's influence, yes, yeah. He said, but my guardian angel knows because he can tell me what happens. He said, well, he said, but I don't think it is a guardian angel. It must be because he prays. I've heard him praying. He said, well, go to him and say, Virgin Mother of God, rejoice. Say that. Get the angel to say that and to make the sign of the cross. So the next night he's praying and the angel appears. He says, I want you to say, Virgin Mother of God, rejoice. He says, oh yes, of course. And he says it and cross yourself. Yes. So it must be an angel. Can't be a demon, can it? Can't be. It turns out that, of course, because of after 2 years of consulting with his guardian angel, he was deluded. So he got to the pitch where he could see that his whole hearing and sight was deluded. So no, the angel wasn't saying that, but that's what he heard. And I'm going to jump actually to a story which is, I think relates. This is
Finish that one.
I haven't finished it yet. I'm taking a